Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Hogarth's Global Astrology. Know your planets, know yourself, or know your nation, know yourself. The two are interchangeable. All right, what is today's show about? So this is a pre-recording. Today is Monday, the 13th of May, 2024, and the time right now is 21:22. How interesting! Lots of twos in there. And in this video, I think it's time to talk about Kate. Yeah. Have a little update. As you will know, God, how long ago now? Kind of around about the time of, what was it? Around about the time of the first solar eclipse, wasn't it? Which was back on April 8th. It's now May 5th. Oh, so it's almost a month ago now. Oh my God, it feels even longer than that. That was around the time when not only I, but everyone, of course, was talking about Kate, wondering where she was, etc. And this was, I think, before she made the health announcement. And isn't it interesting? Because in a couple of videos before that, where I read on her and I read on Catherine or Kate, well, we call her Kate in UK, but Princess Catherine. And I read on her and William, Prince William. And I still think, in many ways, I think that reading holds up from what I can remember of it. And I think in one of the videos, maybe a video just after that, I said there'll be some big announcement about her health on or around the eclipse. And of course, I think it happened just soon after the eclipse. And since then, it has died down. There has been much controversy and speculation. And it's quite interesting, isn't it? Because do you remember when there was the market, the viewing of her in the market and stuff like that? And do you remember I said, you know what? The way she moved, and remember I said the hair wasn't, I said the hair wasn't quite right, and something about the gait. I'm very good when it comes to people's walks and their energy. And I just felt it wasn't her anyway. It's subsequently, obviously, it's emerged over time that it was William. William was there, but it's highly likely that that person was, let's just say, not Kate. Yeah. We've since, of course, we've had all these kind of funny pictures, as we know. The reputation of Kensington Palace has been likened to North Korea, which is hardly a flattering combination. And if anything, North Korea might start protesting at this stage of slurs against them. And then, of course, there was the video of Kate on the bench, and then there's been a furore over that as well in regards to, was it potentially AI altered or something like that? Remains to be seen. However, I think what we can all agree on, there has not been a unequivocal in-person, in front of the public, as it were, of Kate. I think that we can agree on. Another thing that's interesting as well is that they were set, from what I understand, they were set to appear at the BAFTAs, and they withdrawn. And Kate, William is saying, look, we've withdrawn, etc., and stuff like that, but not a word from her since that rather controversial video. So what I wanted to do in today's show, I thought it was just important. Let's just touch base. And maybe hopefully we can get some insights. Things have calmed down now as well, because at one point it really was just kind of getting a little bit too much, wasn't it? However, I think the statements that the Spanish press made at the time seem to be holding up. Yeah, seem to be holding up. As you know, I didn't want to embellish too far because the speculation was absolutely rife at the time. Let's not forget this story also coincided with that lunar eclipse energy. Actually, yeah, because of course the April 8th was the solar eclipse. The one back in what is it? It would have been April 8th. Yeah, so it would have been back in March was the lunar eclipse. So yeah, so we're now in May. So yeah, it is about a couple of months, if not a bit longer. since I've gone into detail. And they've pulled out of BAFTA. It's okay, it's not going to be there. Now, remember, we were told, remember, the whole world was told, don't worry, everyone, stop the speculation. You know, she's going to be back. She's going to be back by Easter. Yeah. Remember that old chestnut? And since then, it's been pushed back and back and back and back. And the fact that Kate, it seems, will now be missing some of her favorite gala events of the year, like the Chelsea Flower Show, BAFTA is another one, etc., all of this kind of stuff. It does, of course, increasingly make people wonder, as you guys say in the States, why Kate can't come to the phone. Yeah. But rather than wildly speculate, yeah, let's take a look at her chart, and let's also take a look at some of the tarot. Yeah. So I'm gonna now remember what I said before, and I still believe this to be true. There are a lot of people that do, and I can't really blame them for thinking that. They do think that Kate is deceased, that she is no more. I'm not going to go that far. I'm going to stay with what I said originally, which is that I think Kate is having a very deep, deep, dark night of the soul energy. And I think in terms of what the Spanish press were talking about in terms of maybe something happening with a stroke and stuff, and like it seems to have been substantiated, you know, and then that of course has complications in itself as well if a person is indeed in an induced coma. In the earlier days, that seemed like the wildest speculations, but as time has gone on, isn't it, we've not seen her since that video. And the fact that she's been pulled out of all of these things and yet not being able to speak for herself, no statements, no voice recording. Let's not forget too that King Charles himself has also had a cancer diagnosis, and he is out and about. He's out and about, as we've seen. He's been very much in the public eye, in fact chomping at the bit, wanting very much to do even more so. But he's a much elder person, you know. Charles is well into his 70s, but yet still is sprightly enough, you know, etc., to do all this, that, and the other. There's also been speculations about Kate liking wild swimming and going in the middle of the night to swim in dark rivers and stuff like this. And you think, interesting. So she seems to have enough strength to swim in a free, colder the better, apparently. Seems to have the strength to swim in cold rivers late at night, yet can't just give a little, you know, a little voicemail or, you know, a little thingy bob here and there. So obviously, this being the case, it is, people, to be honest, people aren't even interested anymore in what the condition is, the details and whatever, and we don't need to know. And that genuinely is her private business. I think really what people want to see is like basically, you know, proof of life effectively, isn't it? That's really kind of where we are now. Things have calmed down. However, I don't think the concern has gone away. Mine certainly hasn't. And it's just the other thing, you know, the pulling out of BAFTA, you're like, yeah, that's one of the showpieces. It's one of the royal showpieces of the year. One that Kate really likes. Let's not forget that she is a photographer, after all, an avid photographer. And I don't believe she was up, you know, up at night doing, you know, Photoshop on those shots. Maybe some subtle stuff on the other ones. Look what's at the base of the deck. Isn't that interesting? At the base of the deck, I've gone back to the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. Many of you know what I did a deep dive on the chart of the fabulously talented and influential creator of the imagery of this deck, who of course is Pamela Smith. Her middle name has just escaped me for some reason. So we'll take a look. We'll take a look. We're going to look at her chart first, and indulge me. As you know, got the old book here. Oh, I love this. So this is the paper. This is the paperback. This, of course, it really gives you the whole root and branch of Vedic astrology in a very accessible way. Thank you again to everyone who's left reviews. If you're watching, it's been fabulous. It's all been 5 stars so far. And of course, this is the hard copy, as you guys can see here. I love this. It's just been done. Oh, it's just been done so well, and just the smell of the pages smell like almonds. Lovely. And of course, as you guys know, you got all the content on the inside and the illustrations in there. I think one person was saying with the illustrations, which people really like, one of the best ways to see them, until I kind of like, I don't know, create posters or something, because people do want the illustrations. If you look at the ebook, for example, you can zoom into the pictures. You don't even, you know, if you're on Kindle, what is it called? If you're on Amazon Prime, then you're on Kindle Unlimited as well. So you can actually get the book for free because it's now on Kindle Unlimited. So if you want a really good look at the illustrations, then you can look at the Kindle version. I think even in the preview, you probably get 1 or 2 illustrations in there. So you can just kind of zoom in, or you just download the Kindle app. If you're on Amazon Prime, then basically you get the book for free, yeah, and you just read through. The link will be in the video description below. Look at that. Look at me. I'm already reaching for the cards, and I'm itching to pull. Let's do the astrology first, and then let's do the cards. Hopefully this will be a relatively short-ish video, but you know, I say that, and then before you know it, it rounds out to an hour. So let's do share screen. So let's just go back over the path of Kate's chart, where I'm going to talk about the key elements, and then we're going to look at the transits, you know, where they are now, because that's probably one of the most important things. And then we'll just go in a bit deeper with the tarot. Another thing as well that has been concerning me as well, I'm sure it's probably the same for you guys as well, is that George has been seen, yeah, but we've not seen Charlotte or Louis, as far as I'm aware. I think there was a photograph, wasn't there? There was a photograph of Princess Charlotte, from what I understand. But again, people quickly pointed out, they said the photo is old, yeah. And the one with Louis, for Louis's birthday, he still looked the same age, and somehow from 1 year to the next, his missing tooth at the time had still not grown back. And as everyone knows, it doesn't take a year for a kid to grow back a missing tooth. We all know that. We all know that. And things being looking slightly out of season. Again, it's not to kind of contribute massively to, you know, everything that's been out there. It's just kind of statements of logic now, isn't it, and stuff like that. And it's been very interesting, and this is why I think it's worth a look to see how she's doing. So here's Kate's chart, or Princess. We say Kate, but Princess Catherine of Wales, as you can see, she was born on the 9th of January 1982 at 7 p.m. And she was born in the UK, Bucklebury. I think that's where she was born. What's also interesting, so she was born on a lunar eclipse, which we can see over here. Can you see? Here's the moon, here with Rahu, and here's the sun with Ketu. And of course, this is the lunar eclipse, is when the moon is full. So that is when the shadow, let's pretend that this is planet Earth here. This is when the shadow of the Earth is cast over the moon. As we know, the eclipses happen 6 months apart, and 6 months later, William was born. He was born on the solar eclipse. So in his chart, you will see the sun and the moon are together. He has Neptune in the 1st house, along with Ketu in the 1st house, and the sun. And for Kate, she is a Cancer ascendant. And remember what I said, there are some of the ascendants are known as royal ascendants. The royal ascendants are the signs of Cancer, Leo, and Sagittarius. Yeah. And she's a Cancer ascendant, and William is a Sagittarius ascendant. Remember, though, all of the water signs are Brahmin. Yeah, Brahmin. So what does that mean? They're known as part of like the priestly class or whatever. Essentially, water signs are what the most sensitive. And the water signs are, of course, Pisces, if you have your ascendant here, that's a Brahmin chart. If you have Cancer rising, of course, Brahmin chart as well. This is one of the reasons why so many Cancerians are also involved in either the healing arts, esoterica, and all of this kind of stuff, even show business and different things like that. Cancer ascendants are well known for that. I'm a Cancer ascendant, as you guys know, under Vedic astrology. Look what I do for a living. Yeah, kind of showbiz combined with woo-woo. Yeah. And of course, the other Brahmin ascendant is Scorpio, and that is what Princess Diana was. Yeah, she had a Scorpio rising, so it's not technically a royal sign. She obviously became royal, and then they took it away. Yeah, they took it away, but she was always a Brahmin and very much into her spirituality and her astrology, as everyone well knows. Anyway, I think the important things to establish. Now, one of the important things to establish, let's look over here. So, oh gosh, I've just noticed Kate, like myself, she's got the moon in the 12th house, but she's got the moon with Rahu, very close. Also, as well, you notice there's no planet here, no planet here. We do have Rahu here, but neither Rahu, the sun, or Ketu count as company to the moon. Neither do technically the outer planets, because they're not part of the ancient tradition of Vedic astrology. However, I have found when Pluto, Neptune, or Uranus are either with the moon, one sign before or one sign after, they do provide a company of sorts, but it tends to be much later in life. So what's a Kimadruma moon? Now, many of my clients have this. It's very common. So basically, when the moon is essentially isolated, when it's on its own, she is with Rahu, but Rahu doesn't count as company, nor does the sun, like I said, or Ketu, or the outer planets. And what it means is, essentially, the long and short of it, it means that Kimadruma moon means to feel like the odd one out. It means one is the odd one out, usually in one's family dynamic, or could be the odd one out at school, or just in life, just feeling like one doesn't quite fit in. Yeah. Now, I think this is quite interesting with Kate, because of course she does present as quite a confident person, but this is the 12th house. And the 12th house is a very hidden house. It's also a very shy house. It's very sensitive. And very often people who've got moon in the 12th house, they may present more confident than they seem, or they're not that maybe that's not quite right. They're always more sensitive than they seem. Yeah, they're always more sensitive than they seem, because the 12th house is a psychic house. It's known as a moksha house. So the moksha houses are houses 4, 8, and 12. Yeah. So any planets in those houses get a bit of a kind of psychic intuition and boost. And if we look here in Kate's chart, she has got the moon, Rahu in the 12th, but she's also got Jupiter, Ceres, and Pluto in the 4th. So what that says to me is now she doesn't have any planets in the 8th. If she did, she would then have a grand trine of air, which is what I've got in my chart. She would have a grand trine of air. And obviously, you know, just wherever the planets were moving at the time didn't quite make it to her 8th house. But nonetheless, she's got occupation of 2 out of 3 of the moksha houses. So what this says to me is that there is a very deep, private, and sensitive side to Kate that maybe people it's not really talked about much in the media. There's probably also as well at least a certain element of psychic gifts there as well. But the main thing is the sensitivity. And I think that is crucial, because if we think of the pressure, because obviously a lot of people go, oh well, they're royalty, they're living this life, etc., stuff like that. It's a gilded cage. I don't think anyone is under any kind of illusions now, especially since with what happened with Diana, about what it's like, or at least have inklings of what it's like to be a royal. And yes, you might have technically fabulous wealth and you live in palaces and you have lots of people looking after you. This is true. But I know for me personally, and I'm sure many of you watching this would agree, I would not swap my life for being a royal any day of the week. Your life is completely controlled. I wouldn't be able to do anything like this. I wouldn't be able to travel where I wanted. Strict protocols. Remember, William wasn't even allowed to wear what he wanted on his own wedding day. Let's not forget that. That was decided by the Queen. So it's a cliche to say, but it's true. It is a gilded cage. A gilded cage. And I think there are many travails and ups and downs in there. And of course, this is so much about what, Harry and Meghan, we're talking about, and all of this kind of stuff. Like I said, I don't necessarily agree with everything that was in the book, but I think on many levels they've also been vindicated to a certain extent as well, haven't they? It's very complex. It's very complex. So she's very sensitive, very sensitive. Now, if we look here, I'll show you something interesting. Now, Jupiter in a woman's chart represents their husband. Yeah, remember me telling you that. Can represent the husband or the significant men in a person's life. But in a woman's chart, assuming it's a heterosexual woman's chart, Jupiter really does take on the characteristics of the husband or the significant romantic partner. Jupiter is also secondary characteristics of the father, and can also represent a significant son as well, usually the eldest son, or the son that is most Jupiterian, most benefic, as it were, in his behavior and conduct, the most noble, shall we say. Because I found Mars, planet Mars, is the one that really does represent sons and generals and brothers. So going back to here, so here she's got Jupiter in the 4th house. So Jupiter becomes exalted in the sign of Cancer. Now, obviously, this is Libra here, because look, she's a Cancer ascendant, and we don't have Jupiter in the 1st house. So we count round 1, 2, 3, 4. Jupiter is here. And I said some details on this before as well. This will also speak to her father and her father-in-law. Yeah. So this would deal with King Charles and Kate's father, and it will also be talking about William. It could even be talking about one of her brothers. Yeah. It might be her main brother that she has, but I suspect the brother-in-law, Harry, is over here. Yeah. In Virgo, where Mars is not happy. Whenever Mars is in Virgo, I've often found with my clients, they are often estranged from one of the brothers, sometimes all, but it's normally one brother in particular. So that would also tally with Kate's chart, because of course, by marriage, Harry is her brother-in-law. Yeah. But I suspect her relationship with her biological brother is probably a little bit better, but there's intensity there. Now, why do I say this? If we look at this from the perspective of her father and William. But before, I'll have a little chat about Charles. Now, how can we tell that this is accurate? If we look here, see Ceres is here. Now, what is Ceres? Ceres is the Roman name for the goddess Demeter, the goddess of fruits, fecundity, harvest, etc. And Demeter had a very famous daughter called Persephone, yeah, who was abducted by Pluto and taken into the underworld. And a deal had to be struck, because Demeter was so distraught. She said, nothing's going to grow. All of you are going to starve until my daughters return to me. So they had to have a deal. So Persephone could spend spring, summer, and fall with her mother. Forgive me if you've heard this story already, but many new people come and they may not know it. So she could spend that time with her mother, but every winter she had to return back to the underworld where she had become queen. Yeah. So what I've found is, and I talk about this in the book, is that Ceres isn't just things that we give our nurturance and care to as it is depicted in the West. That is accurate. Yes, it does represent our love and devotion for someone or something, almost like a mother's love. But what I found is Ceres represents three characters, Demeter, Persephone, and Hades. And it often refers to something that we've lost and we're trying to get back, or something that we have that we fear losing. I've seen this time and time again. You can imagine I've read thousands of charts, as you guys know. And I found this is true. So whatever planet or planets Ceres is with can denote where a person may fear losing someone or something, or they've lost someone or something and maybe trying to get it back. So this is very, very poignant for Kate. Because if we think about this from Jupiter as being one of the main indicators of the father, the sun represents literally the physical body of the father, but Jupiter is secondary characteristics. If you want to know about the father, someone's father, you look at the sun and you look at Jupiter. Now, this Jupiter here is in quite a complex situation. Why? Because technically this Jupiter is in an enemy sign. The reason why it's in an enemy sign is because it's in the sign of Libra, which belongs to Venus. Now, Venus and Jupiter are both seen as the gurus, but really every single planet is a guru. And I would say Saturn, the planet of experience, is the guru of gurus. However, Jupiter and Venus are not friends. They teach in very different ways. Jupiter is sattvic in nature, which means it has a certain piety, joyfulness, success, ease, affability, purity of intention. Yeah. But Venus as a planet is known as Rajasic. Yeah. And again, this is in the book. It's all explained. Rajas means passion, desire. Yeah. Also very creative as well. Remember, Venus is also what? The planet of love, marriage, relationships, wealth, luxuries of all kinds, you know, the good life. Venus in a man's chart will represent his wife, assuming that he's into ladies. That will be his wife. But Venus will represent relationships for everyone, all kinds of relationships, whatever your preference is. That's just how it is. Venus is the karkara, the indicator of such things. Going back to this, so here we see Jupiter as secondary characteristics of the father is speaking about two significant men in her life. Now, here we can see this aspect here with Charles, her father-in-law. Because when Jupiter is in the fourth house, it's kind of acting a bit exalted. Because the sign of Cancer, where he's exalted, is the fourth sign. So when he's in the fourth house always has the energy of Cancer. Yeah. So that means that she has very prominent men in her life. Some of the men in her life are extremely prominent, and that would make sense, isn't it? She is married to someone who will be the next king, and the current king is her father-in-law. And her son, eldest son, which is George, is next in line to the throne after William. Yeah, so we can see there's that significance there. Also, as well, you see Pluto is here as well, which talks about power and transformation. But let's not forget the series. So here we see there is a fear of losing someone or something, or having someone or something and trying to get back. If we apply this, if we overlay this energy in regard to Charles, Jupiter here with Pluto also deals with near-death experiences. Yeah, we all have Pluto somewhere in our chart. Pluto is very, very intense planet. And he can deal with dark night of the soul energy. Yeah, because he's Hades, god of the underworld. So it shows, aha, some significant man in her life may have a Hades, dark night of the soul moment. Also, as well, this person's going to be fond of the environment, gardening, and all of this kind of stuff. Fruits, vegetables, Gaia. Why? Because Demeter is that Gaia energy. Prince Charles, as we know, has been an advocate for environmental protection for decades. Long before it was fashionable. He was teased mercilessly in the early days by the British press for his activism, yeah, in regards to fruits, vegetables, gardening, etc., talking to the flowers. Yeah, they used to call in the prince that spoke to the flowers. And he's been lobbying the government for years for things to be done on the environment. And one thing I will definitely say is, irrespective of what one may think of Charles, particularly in regard to Diana and stuff like that, where he is above reproach is his advocacy for the environment. It's truly been that way. And I remember when I was a kid in primary school, we learned, about Prince Charles, and because when you grow up as a British kid, the royal family is never far away. So here we can see, aha, a significant male in her life is very much interested in Gaia. But let's not forget, too, that William also created the Earthshot Prize. And a series also deals with food. The father also ran what? A catering business called, what is it? Party, I always forget what it's called. Party Pieces. There we are. Party Pieces, which is also catering and all of this kind of stuff. So you can see here, this is how I love to read charts, and I call this 4-dimensional astrology, because to me, when I'm looking at a chart, it's like reading a piece of music, but it's also like looking at a Rubik's Cube. And you can see how with this placements, this is speaking about 4 significant men in her life. Well, in fact, you could say more. So King Charles, William, her father, and yes, George, her eldest son. There. Louis would be over here. This would be probably be Louis's energy over here, and Princess Charlotte will be Venus. Yeah, because Venus deals with females from I don't want to say woman because she's not a woman, but from girlhood up to maturity is Venus. The moon is matriarchs in general, and so is Ceres as well, but it tends to be the grandmother. Yeah, tends to be the grandmother or grandparents. So Charlotte is over here expressing her energy in that way. So, but look, Pluto, dark night of the soul. So if we look at this from the perspective of Charles, he's been having his dark night of the soul with his cancer diagnosis. But there's something else you should know about Pluto as well. Pluto deals with extremes. Yeah, Pluto deals with extremes. And when Jupiter is with Pluto, it can also have a very shamanic quality, by the way, the shamanic quality. Whatever happens with Kate, assuming she comes through all of this, she is already completely transformed. But assuming that she comes back to public life and that she can come to the phone and, whatever, at some point, I see this really as her initiation. But it also shows as well that her own father, her biological father, is also having to deal with some intensities in his life, because Pluto deals with the extremes of wealth. One of the things I put in the book is I said Plutonic wealth. With Plutonic wealth, a person can be so rich that their money cannot even be counted. We're talking the uber billionaires. We're in the Putinska kind of territory here. You see someone like Putin, easily one of the most richest men in the world. You'll never see him in the Forbes list or whatever. He'll just laugh at that. Yeah. And I've said it before, he is a trillionaire. Of that I am convinced. Probably multi-trillionaire. easily, I mean, one of the richest men on earth. Forget, Buffett and blah, blah, blah. Trust me, people like Putin and people running countries who are obviously on the, as well, trillions. Anyway, however, Pluto also deals with the extremes in terms of debt. Pluto also represents extreme debt. So if you indulge me for a second, if I do, let's do file open just to illustrate the point. And let's quickly look at the USA chart. I wasn't planning to do this, but if we go here, go to global astrology, so you can see what I mean. So if I go here, country, USA Declaration of Independence chart, open. Now watch out for Pluto, yeah? So here's Pluto over here. So America has a Sagittarius ascendant, and this chart that I use is the 4th of July, 1776, 6:30 p.m. Philadelphia. Works beautifully. Not everyone uses this chart. Works beautifully. Sagittarius ascendant, but look where Pluto is, 6 degrees, 48 minutes. Now, you guys know already, because you've heard me banging on about it for years, and every other astrologer as well, America is having its first Pluto return. So Pluto has just crossed over itself. You can see it's currently retrograde here. This TR means transits. This is where it is right now. Pluto is at 7 degrees, 52 minutes, almost at 8 degrees. Here in the natal chart, it's almost at 7 degrees. So he's only 1 degree in loose change beyond himself. Yeah, if that. Yeah, just a tiny more, just over a degree over from himself. So here, though, now Pluto is in the 2nd house of the USA chart, and the 2nd house deals with education, money, values, asset classes of all kinds, etc. I could bang on. It also deals with speech and education. Look at all the big things that are being debated right now. But the 2nd house also deals with money. Money. Technically, America is one of the richest nations on the earth, as we all know. But it's also one of the most indebted, isn't it? Look, we can all agree on that, because the current debt at the moment, if I remember correctly, is around about 33 to 34 trillion right now, and loose change. And that doesn't even count the unsecured debts and stuff like that as well. So imagine, let's call it, because last time, obviously that debt's going on. I think it really is around about $34 trillion now. So you can see the extremes that Pluto brings. So whatever Pluto's with, it will always make it more extreme. I remember watching one astrologer years ago who said that Pluto is like a steroid. It's very, very true. And, steroids, of course, can, pump you up, like Arnold Schwarzenegger style, all of that kind of stuff. This is why he had a little heart problems later. You don't get that big, trust me, not that big. And, but it's like a steroid, so it will boost it. In the USA chart, you can see K2 is here, which is adding even more. That is really quite a malefic combination. But K2 can also deal with losses as well and stuff like that. So that is what can maximize, it exaggerates the USA's debt. But of course, the USA has the reserve currency in the world, so it can actually run up that much debt without collapsing. But trust me, previous empires were not so fortunate. Yeah, we're not so fortunate. Anyway, but that's just to illustrate the extremes. Going back to Kate. So we go here. Going back to her chart, so we see Jupiter, secondary characteristics, the father, but also the husband. We'll talk about William in a minute. It means there's an extreme element here. For those who may or may not know, due to the consequences, because a lot of people have been kind of teasing Kate's parents because apparently they're broke now, yeah. But their company where they made their millions was called Party Pieces, which is an events company, parties. What stopped over lockdown? Right. You guys know. There were no parties. There was no socializing. There was nothing happening. Nothing happened really. There was a little bit of on-off really pretty much for 2 years. So guess what? They hit the skids like so many companies did. So some people I've noticed on YouTube, I'm not going to say any names, have been a bit uncharitable with Kate's parents. But I think their story is actually very relatable. Yes, their daughter may be the future queen, but they still had to earn their own income. And when your income was based on events and people coming together, like so many of the mom and pops, this is one of the things I have to try and at times mollify my anger a little at just how many businesses were destroyed. Yeah. But let's park that to the side because, as you know, the censor is strong. So if your business depends on bringing people together and people having a nice time and fun, and then you can't have that unless, of course, you were in the houses of, unless, of course, you were in Parliament, yeah, unless you were in 10 Downing Street, then, of course, you had a fabulous time, you know, swings, DJs, you know, wine Fridays, fridges being wheeled in, people vomiting up walls, you know, the whole shebang, karaoke, the whole lot. So when we just park that to one side, yeah, a lot of people got fined and stuff for sitting on benches with another person with their masks on out in the wind. I mean, some of it was just utterly absurd, wasn't it? I'm sure many of us, many people can admit that now. I've had to keep, you know, stum. I'm still waiting for the big awakening that's coming up before I really let the floodgates rip with what I truly think about the whole debacle, frankly. Anyway, so we see how this proves true. So from Charles's perspective, his dark night of the soul is a brush with Cancer, but he adores his gardening. With Kate's father, he adores catering and food, the series element again, but apparently they're over £2 million in debt. So again, extremes, yeah. Pluto represents extremes. You know, this ain't some simple credit card debt. So apparently they've got some people chasing after them and what have you. And we'll have to see. But remember, the most important thing here, Jupiter is also what? The husband. So what it can mean is it can mean the husband may be extreme. And again, I'm not throwing aspersions here. We all know what's been leaking out over the press over the last few years, let alone the last few months. Everyone knows about William's temper. Yeah. Here, look, Pluto, god of the underworld, the abductor of Persephone. Yeah. So that can show a tremendous brooding quality. Can also show a transformative quality as well. I don't want to get in too much into the fine points of William's character, whatever. Just watch the other videos and join the dots for yourself. You know, we can't spoon feed this information, as you know. Lots of people are watching, and not all of them are human either. Yeah, AI and all of that stuff, and that ain't even a joke. Like, that's real. But join the dots. Yeah, Hades, god of the underworld, is an element of the husband. Yeah, there it is, plain sight. Also, as well, we can see here as well in regards to the sun going to Kate's biological father. Neptune is here, and Neptune is famous for being able to dissolve a fortune. It can make a fortune and dissolve a fortune, but it's also associated with drink, drugs, and alcohol and stuff like that. I'm not saying that they were in this particular business, but one thing that was very interesting, which was published in the British article, I think a few months ago, came out a few years ago, resurfaced again, is that a big marijuana plant was closed down just one garden away from the Middleton's house in Bucklebury, you know, allegedly. Well, not even allegedly. The farm was closed down, but whether or not, you know, who was connected to it is something for speculation. But when I kind of look at that Neptune Sun combination, I'm like, let's just leave it there. Yeah, let's just leave it there. Either way, when we go back to look at this as secondary characteristics of the father, there is an intensity there to the father which may not be obvious to people. There is an element of Hades there. And so when I look here as well, I'm like, interesting. But this is also why I'm a bit concerned for Kate as well, because we can see here there is this plutonic energy. It has the ability to make her shamanic, and the positive impact on this would also give a deep and shamanic husband as well, if he's in the light of that Pluto, which isn't always easy. So there's that. How am I doing on time? Okay, let me just I think that's all I want to say on that. Also as well, yeah, this is important just to understand. So let's see here. In Kate's chart, so let's see. Yes, soon Kate will actually start having her Uranus opposition. You see, here's Uranus at almost 29 degrees, 28 degrees and 58 minutes. Thankfully, mine is passing now, and I've had plenty of surprises. On the 1st of June, Uranus will enter sidereal Taurus to join Jupiter. At that point, her Uranus opposition will begin, and it will become most exact when she's around about 40. Let me think. So it's going to be like Uranus spends 7 years in a sign, so probably a couple of years from now, like when she's like 43, like 42, 43, 44 is sort of like when it's at its peak. Yeah, that's when most of us get our Uranus opposition. So there's still that energy going on there. So I hope you guys found that interesting, but definitely dark night of the soul energy. Let's pull some tarot. And please let me know your thoughts in the questions. And if you've not yet subscribed, then it would be a pleasure to have you on board. Please click like, subscribe, and share. Click the bell notification so you're made aware when I'm uploading videos. All right, let's just read the energy. I'm just going to tune in. Let's just read the energy of what's going on with Kate. Really simple. What is going on with Kate? I might have to pull a few clarifiers here. All right, Spirit. What is going on with Kate? What's going? Make sure I've got the cut. Yes. What's going on with Kate? Making sure I have the deck the right way up. What is going on with Kate? What's going on with Kate? What's going on with Kate? What's going on with Kate? Let's have a look. Let's see what she gets. Oh gosh. Oh gosh. All right. This is pretty clear to me here. I'm going to pull some clarifiers on this last card here. So I have a major arcana which is turned up in the middle, and I have a king and a queen. How funny. If we look here, I was saying what's going on with Kate. She's turned up right here. We have the Queen of Pentacles. Remember as well, Pentacles can also refer to people who are of darker complexion or darker looks, darker hair. So we know this has to be Kate. This is the card of domesticity, quietude, looking after things. You see how closely she's looking at that coin. Yeah, you can see how closely she's looking at that coin. So this is a very careful card. What this suggests to me is that whatever is going on with Kate, this is a careful recovery. This isn't about speed. This is going to be a slower one, which is what I thought. Now, if the Spanish press are to be believed, and I think they've probably proved the more credible of sources, isn't it ironic of late? And they've certainly not been sued for slander or anything like that, or prosecuted. You know, their views have basically gone unchallenged, whereas others have been struck down. So what this says to me is that Kate's recovery is much longer than what we've been led to believe. It's becoming obvious now because Easter is a forgotten memory by now. So what this says to me is I think she's still around, but it's going to be a much slower recovery. I'm starting to believe, I think she may have indeed had a stroke. Yeah. And from what I understand is that it can take a year, at least a year, to kind of recover. Now, you got to remember, like, for Kate's a public figure. who is used to and expected to look perfect. Yeah, it's an impossibility for people to live up to. And you remember she had the bound fingers, and you know, which which could have shown other signs of distress, etc. You know, things to do with eating disorders, etc. All of this stuff, which has been ground that's been well covered now. But imagine if, say, for example, if there is the side of the face is not working, or the side of the body is not working. Often the speech is impeded. Sometimes people have to learn how to walk again, even things with bodily functions, etc. Eating, using the toilet, etc. All of this stuff, depending on the severity of it, this can be very, very impactful. So the fact that Kate's turned up here and it's this quiet, slow, very slow card, yeah. The next card, though, of course, is the giveaway. And if we look, this is it's the 9 of Wands in the obstacle position. What is this card all about? We all know what this card is about. It's about battles. It's about fighting for one's survival, or surviving some great intense battle. Look, you can see, look, this one's battle weary. You know, you can see he's trying to survive. This is also a shrewd card. So what this says to me is that the health has been a significant setback. The recovery is going to take much longer than we've been told. Kate is battling. She is trying, but it is hard. It's hard for her because this is turning up in the obstacle position. So she's really, and that's why I said dark night of the soul energy. What further exemplifies that for me is the high priestess in the middle. We are not privy to everything that is going on. I think that is pretty much clear, isn't it? And that has been unequivocally proven that what has been stated is not necessarily what is true. The high priestess here is saying that in bucket loads, isn't it? This is the classic card of subterfuge or mysteries, secrets, things yet to be disclosed. This can also show as well, particularly when I think of the spirituality that's sort of there in Kate's chart, that this is, if her body is not unable to cooperate at the moment, let's just put it that way, if her body is unable to cooperate at the moment, and assuming she's sentient and awake, then she's going on these tremendous spiritual journeys. Because let's not forget as well, this, the high priestess, is also talks about someone that is beginning to engage with their spiritual maturity, spiritual adventures. They're starting to explore many things. And I would suspect, you know, Kate having this dark night of the soul, she and that shamanic combination of that Jupiter-Pluto combination. So whenever I see basically Jupiter with Jupiter with Pluto, or Pluto with the sun, Pluto with the moon, very shamanic. So is Pluto with Venus as well. Those combinations particularly tend to produce that. And of course, Kate's got Jupiter with Pluto. So we see here this dark night of the soul she's trying to transmute. But look here, the last two cards. Look at the last two cards. Next, we have the Seven of Swords, yeah, which, as we know, is the spy in the camp, the thief in the camp, someone trying to get away with something, yeah, someone trying to get away with something. But who? For me, the last card is the clincher, King of Wands. Who do we think that king is? Yeah, has to be William, doesn't it? Has to be William. So when we look at this, and when we take into account what I've shown you in the chart, I will allow you to draw the conclusions for yourself with that plutonic combination there with the husband. Something is not right. And I think we know that now. This isn't hearsay anymore, whatever. She's not been seen since properly, like out and about, like truly out and about, or even just a little selfie video being like, here I am, I'm digging up the onions or whatever. Nothing, yeah, apart from either pictures that have been doctored, or we have that video, where big question marks have been put on it, and even those are yet to be refuted. And I think even the BBC couldn't actually come out and just say, no, it's not AI. Do you know what I mean? So when we put in that context, and when we look at that, particularly this combination, yeah, that a king trying to get away with something, or a prominent man trying to get away with something, then that's not looking so great, is it? Let's read it backwards. So we've seen it from Kate's perspective. Let's try and see it from William's, assuming this is William. So here's William sitting here right now. He's Prince of Wales, but he is the future king. So it's appropriate that a king card should arrive. There's an element here of an energy of trying to get away with something, some kind of subterfuge, some kind of spy or enemy in the camp. The plans are veiled. Yeah, the plans are veiled. They are not transparent. Yeah, there's an element of subterfuge here, remember, as well. He also has Neptune in the first house. He himself is feeling embattled, particularly in regard what's happened in the media, and now this new reputation of being less reliable than North Korea. Hardly flattering, is it? So here William is feeling embattled by the situation here. In regard to what? Kate, his wife, yeah, who is unable to move for some reason. Remember, they've been refitting the cottage. Yeah, this is the card of domesticity. Yeah, trying to have the comforts and stuff like that at home. From what I understand, isn't it? What is it called? Thingy Bob Cottage? Not, is it Osborne Cottage? I can't remember. Sorry, forgive me. I don't follow the royal stuff as much as some other YouTubers, but you know, I dip in from time to time. So here, yes, so we can see, I think personally Kate is around, but it is dark night of the soul stuff, and the rhetoric has been less than honest, because when we look at it that way, there's Kate battling, having to go within for her spiritual development, especially in regards to someone trying to get away with something who could be very close to her. Yeah, but when you look at it the other way, this person that is close to her, who's potentially trying to get away with something, has put misleading or cloaking, or, you know, if you think of the adjustment, shall we say, to the photos, is now embattled in regard to Kate. Yeah, so there's a lot more going on behind the scenes. I hope we will see Kate at some point, but I think it could be a while, guys. It could be a while. I think there's going to be these messages. I mean, look, I would love to be surprised. I would love to be surprised and see her show up at the Royal Chelsea Flower Show, you know, looking gorgeous, hair flowing in her Kately way, looking well, hopefully with maybe a few extra pounds as well. But you know, let's not wish for too much. But just alive and well and smiling. Yeah, I think we all can agree we want to see that. We have not seen that, and that is my best interpretation that I can give. And I think that's pretty accurate, isn't it? When you saw the cards that came up, let's just pull some clarifiers on that final king, and then I'll call it a day, which was the King of Wands. And this is why I like to read the cards backwards as well. I know I read the cards a bit different, guys, but you know, it's hokey. But I often find that reading the cards backwards, it also gives extra to the story, because we saw Kate's perspective and we saw William's, didn't we? Let's pull a clarifier. What's going on with William? His energy in regard to this. Give us a little bit more detail. Let's see, what's this? Oh, look at that. It's not liking the options on the table. Yeah. It's not liking the options on the table. It's not liking them down here or what's up here. Difficult. This can also be a card of meditation and reflection, but this is someone who is not liking the situation at all. He's not sure what to do. Yeah, not sure what to do about Kate, which again tells us that it's a lot more complicated than we've been allowed to know. And that recovery is going to take much longer, which also, as the cards are suggesting, which also tells me, yes, that the Spanish press are probably right. I will leave it there. Please don't forget to like and subscribe and share and press the bell notification. I hope you found that interesting. And again, with the books, you can find them. I'll have them on the link. I personally prefer, I love the hardback, and that will be on the link on the description below. Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone, and you'll see me again on Thursday, Fry Up. I think that's when I'm, yeah, if I'm not doing another collab, I can't remember. Mwah! Big love. See you soon.